Hi guys, once again welcome you all on this online lecture platform, and in today's video lecture we're going to study molecular and genomic based methods that are part of polyphasic approaches, and these molecular and genomic based methods are very important as far as microbial identification and bacterial taxonomy is concerned. So far in our previous lectures we have covered phenotypic analysis, that is morphological based method that are used in identification of microbes or microbial communities. In this today's video lecture we will going to see remaining types that are based on molecules and some genomic methods. So as the name suggests, basically these molecular and genomic based methods, they are based on DNA, RNA, as well as some of the methods they are based on proteins, and some of the methods they are based on lipids. So let's start, and first we're going to see DNA based methods. That means methods of microbial identification that are based on DNA or nucleic acid. And the basic theme behind the DNA based approaches for accessing microbial diversity or microbial community is based upon the fact that DNA has complementary nature of their structure. So if you see the DNA structure, it is complementary. The two anti-parallel strands, they are joined by normal base pairing between nitrogenous bases, and this complementary nature and the double helix structure of DNA molecule is the main basis behind the all techniques that are used in microbial identification that are based on DNA. And the efficiency of means the DNA based approaches for accessing microbial diversity, they are based on complementary nature of double helix structure of DNA molecules and on the efficiency of hybridization between two strands from heterogeneous sources under controlled experimental conditions. Now hybridization, what is meant by hybridization? If you hit the DNA, if you provide the temperature to the double helical DNA molecule or double stranded DNA structure, then after hitting, after sometimes that DNA get melts, means the two strand they get separated from each other. Why these two strand get separated? Because the normal hydrogen bonds present between the nitrogen bases, they get breakdown, and due to that breakdown of bonds between nitrogenous bases, the two strand of DNA they get separated. If we cool down that same DNA, once again that DNA molecule it get renature. Okay, so this basic principle can be utilized to hybridize DNA with other DNA molecules or other RNA molecules. Okay, so hybridization is nothing but when two individual DNA strand or two single stranded DNA when come together, if their base sequences are similar, they can join irrespective of whether they came from same species or whether they came from different species. So this complementary nature of double helical structure and hybridization, they are the main theme behind all these techniques. Okay, so there are many variations on the methodological theme of DNA hybridization as a fundamental approach for exploring microbial diversity and systematics. So all these techniques that we are going to see in coming slides, they are based on this hybridization principle. So for determining species identity among culturable organisms, the most straightforward strategy is whole genome hybridization with results expressed as percent homology between an unidentified organism and one that is well characterized. So hybridization is carried out between the strands of DNA of two species, in that one species is completely unknown and other species is completely characterized or completely known. So these DNA based methods, they are mostly depend upon double helical structure as well as the principle of hybridization. So let's see how this principle they are utilized in techniques. So before that, these are the DNA based methods that are used in microbial identification, and they are known as genomic methods. And that DNA based method includes DNA reassociation kinetics, then restriction fragment length polymorphism, that is abbreviated as RFLP, then terminal restriction fragment length polymorphism, that is TRFLP, then denaturing or temperature gradient electrophoresis, that is DTGGE, then single strand conformation polymorphism, that is SSCP, then PCR amplicon length heterogeneity, that is PCR ALH, and low molecular weight RNA pattern analysis, and last is reverse sample genome probing, RSGP. So all these themes or all these techniques, they are based on DNA, and most of these techniques they are also part of they are most of these techniques they are utilized for uncultivable microbial communities or unculturable microbial communities. So here in this today's lecture we'll see these techniques based that are related to culturable as well as unculturable, and all these techniques that are the remaining techniques will cover in metagenomic analysis, or the techniques that are used for uncultivable or unculturable microorganisms. So overall these are genomic based methods that are used for identification of microbes. So first, most of the techniques that are related, they are based on DNA hybridization. Hybridization, as we have already discussed in previous slide, that when two single stranded DNA came together in proper environmental condition, and if there are sequence similarity between that two strands, they can join to form hybrids. The hybrids can be formed between DNA or DNA, between DNA or RNA. Okay, and the condition is that the two strands of DNA or RNA they must be separate or they must be single stranded, and to hybridize the DNA or DNA hybrid, to form DNA DNA hybrid or to form DNA RNA hybrid, the sequence similarity should be more, or there should be homology between two strands. Okay, so the extent of nucleotide sequence similarity between two organisms can be determined by measuring how completely single strands of their DNA hybridize to one another. So by using this hybridization principle, we can identify unidentified microbes. Okay, so basic theme used in this technique is that the one strand of DNA is from identified or completely characterized bacteria or group of bacteria, and the other strand that is to be hybridized is from unknown bacteria or unknown species of bacteria. And if these two strand means the identification of unknown microorganism is based upon the extent of homology or extent of hybridization that is carried out. So just as complementary strands of DNA from one organism will anneal or base pair, so will homologous DNA of different organisms. So basically this technique relies on homology between two different DNA species. Okay, or the DNA that is came from the two different species, homology between the two DNA molecules of different species. If their base pairs or nucleotide sequence are similar, they can join, and the joining is again depend upon nucleotide percentage, means how homologous their DNA is, and the extent of hybridization is depend upon that homologous DNA. So the extent of hybridization reflects the degree of sequence similarity, and two bacterial strains that show at least 70% similarity are generally considered to be the members of same species. So this is the main criteria, that the hybridizing DNA between two different species, they should be at least 70% similar, and if they are 70% similar, so they are considered as a member of same species. At least 70%, more than 70%, they will definitely the member of same species, but minimum criteria of hybridization is that the DNA which is came from two different species, microbial species, it should be 70% match. Okay. See in this slide you can see the double stranded structure of DNA. In that two antiparallel strands, they are joined by normal base pairing between nitrogenous bases, and base pairing is like that adenine pairs with thymine and cytosine pairs with guanine. So when adenine pairs with thymine, there are two bonds, hydrogen bonds they form, and in case of guanine and cytosine, there are three hydrogen bonds by which they can join together. So if you see this double helical structure, so nitrogen bases they are joined by hydrogen bonds, and this double helical structure is the main theme behind all these techniques or hybridization principle. See in this slide, the hybridization or the DNA denaturation and renaturation principle is explained. In that you can see that previously double stranded DNA, if you provide the temperature, if you heat that DNA, after some time that DNA get melt. Means melting of DNA means what? The two strand they get separated due to breaking of hydrogen bonds, and once again if you cool that denatured DNA, it again renature if you cool down. So this reaction uh, of denaturation as well as renaturation, they act on equilibrium and they are dependent upon temperature. So if you provide high temperature, the double stranded DNA structure it get denatured, it get melt, and if you cool that denatured DNA, so it will allow means it will get renature once again to form double stranded DNA. So this renaturation and denaturation they are operating in cycles and they are dependent upon temperature. Okay. So this DNA denaturation and reassociation kinetics can be used to identify microbes and two separate DNA molecules of different species. They can allow to renature in appropriate environmental conditions, and after denaturing the extent of hybridization or extent of homology can be determined by percentage of base pairing or percentage of homology or percentage of hybridization. So the result of DNA reassociation kinetics experiment is the length of time it takes for mixed pool of single stranded nucleic acid to hybridize. Again the hybridization time process it depends upon time. That means how much time that two different DNA molecules it will take to hybridize or it will take to renature, and they form double stranded molecule. So the hybridization or renaturation or reassociation principle is depend upon time, and as if the length of time is proportional to concentration of complementary sequence in pool. Okay, the length of time is proportional to concentration of complementary sequence in pool. Means if DNA from two different species they are similar, they will rejoin within a shorter period of time, and if the DNA is not between these two dissimilar species or two different species is not homologous, so it will take time to renature or it will not going to hybridize or it will not going to join. So the method produces a quantitative measure of heterogeneity in a sample of DNA pulled from various sources. So by this reassociation kinetics or by this hybridization principle, almost any kind of DNA molecules they can tested or they can apply to these hybridization techniques, and we can find different microbial species based upon homology principle. So the main contribution of this approach has been estimate of the number of genomes per unit of environmental sample such as soil or water. If you this is the DNA melting curve, or in this figure you can see that as initially the double stranded DNA, if you provide temperature or if you heat that DNA, After some time it get melted, and the two strand they get completely separated from each other, and the temperature at which that two strands they get completely separated from each other, that is known as melting temperature, and that is abbreviated as Tm. And once again, if you allow to uh, cool this temperature DNA molecule, they will rejoin, or they can rejoin to form double stranded structure. So this is DNA melting curve. And uh, again, the temperature, that is melting temperature, it depends upon concentration of GC as well as ATBase pairs. As we know that a higher percentage of GC base pair, it will take more time to melt as compared to lower percentage of ATBase pair, because ATBase pairs they are joined with 2 hydrogen bonds, and GC base pairs they are joined with 3 hydrogen bonds. So comparatively more energy is needed to break 3 hydrogen bonds as compared to 2 hydrogen bonds that are present in ATBase pair. So to summarize or to generalize this concept, uh, it is fact that if the DNA it contains higher percentage of GC base pair, obviously the melting temperature or melting point will be higher as compared to uh, the DNA that contains lower percentage of GC base pairs. Okay. So based on this technique, the first technique that is used in microbial identification is GC content analysis. So the GC content is often measured by determining the temperature at which double stranded DNA denatures or melts. Okay, so the percentage of GC content in particular DNA, it can be determined by temperature. Okay, higher the GC content, higher the melting temperature, and lower the GC content, lower the melting temperature. So DNA that has high GC content melts at higher temperature because GC base pairs are held together by 3 hydrogen bonds as compared to AT base pairs which are held together by only 2 hydrogen bonds. So ultimately and obviously GC base pair will melt it will take higher temperature and it will take higher time to melt. So the temperature at which double stranded DNA melts can be determined by measuring absorbance of UV light by solution of DNA as it is heated, and the absorbance rapidly decreases as the DNA denatures. So basically these techniques, GC content can be calculated by analyzing the spectroscopic spectrophotometrically, and uh, when the two stand they get completely separated, the spectra is different, and intact DNA molecule it has different spectra. So based on these different spectroscopic readings, we can identify the GC content analysis. And the absorbance, relative absorbance is measured at 260 nanometer, and it rapidly increases at double stranded DNA get denatures. Okay, so as the two strand they get separated from each other, the absorbance will increases. Okay, so one way to roughly compare the genomes of different bacteria is to determine their GC content. If we have to compare or identify different species of bacteria, so simply by analyzing the GC content of different bacteria, we can identify different species of bacteria. And by determining their GC content, also called as G+3 content, which is percentage GC base pairs in an organism. So if the GC content of two organisms differ by more than a small percentage, they cannot be closely related. Okay, and the similarity of base pair composition, however, does not necessarily means that organisms are related, because the nucleotide sequence and genome sizes could differ greatly. Okay, so this is how GC content can be used for analysis of microbial species. See, in this technique, the hybridization principle is explained, and in this figure, if you carefully observe, you can see that the two different organisms they are compared. The red color organism is unknown species, and the organism which is reflected with green color is of known species. So in that DNA probe is used. Okay, now probe means these are specific DNA sequences that are labeled with specific DNA probes, and once this probed DNA and the target DNA, if they are allowed to hybridize, if there are percent homology between these two different DNA molecules, they will hybridize. And in figure B you can see that the first DNA molecule of green color and red color, they are combined to join, they form hybrid. And the green DNA, it is labeled with probe, and the red DNA, it match, it get hybridized with that probe DNA, and in this way we can identify unknown species. So the results are can be depend upon how many molecules they are hybridized with probe DNA, and upon that different genera and different species can be identified. So in this experiment, only 25%, that is one uh, strand of DNA is hybridized with probe DNA. So it reflects that only 25% match is there, and we can see that the species belong to this category, they are of different genera. Okay, so this is how we can estimate unknown species by probing it with known probes or hybridizing with probed DNA. So this concept we'll discuss later in detail in uh, other techniques. So in this figure, two different techniques that are mentioned. The scatter plot is given that shows the relationship between 16S RNA gene sequence similarity and genomic DNA hybridization for pairs of organism, and the pairs of microorganisms are compared on the basis of their 16S RNA similarities and DNA genomic hybridization. So basically this scattered plot is represents two different techniques that are used for microbial identification, and their similarity or scatteredness is given. So this is how hybridization principle can be utilized to identify unknown bacteria, and in this technique DNA probes can be used, and that probes are nothing but the DNA sequence. The DNA sequences are allowed to hybridize with unknown DNA sequences, and hybridization uh, means percentage is depend upon the sequence similarity or homology between two DNA molecules, and these probes can be detected, and the extent of homology can be calculated by percentage of uh, means how many DNA molecules they get hybridized. Okay. So there are several analyses are carried out by this hybridization method, and DNA hybridization studies have shown that members of genus Shigella and Escherichia coli. This is a particular example. So DNA hybridization studies have shown that members of genera Shigella and Escherichia are quite different based on their biochemical taste. But if you use this technique, so actually they are a group of same species. So if you compare these two species, that is Shigella and Escherichia coli, by means of biochemical test, so you will find this of different species. You can find that these are different species, but actually if you use this hybridization principle, so they are found to be of group members of same species. So in case of humans and chimpanzees, so DNA, if you compare the DNA of chimpanzees and humans, so you will find that the DNA have approximately 99% similar, and it is based on hybridization studies. So therefore, by criteria used to classify bacteria, humans and chimpanzees would be members of same species. Next techniques, that is based on fatty acid analysis. Okay, and that technique is called as an FAME. Okay, so FAME is abbreviation, and this technique is based on different fatty acids or lipids that are present as a part of membrane. Okay, so the type of FAME is abbreviated, and full form for FAME is fatty acid methyl ester analysis. So This technique is based upon fatty acids or lipids, and these fatty acids and lipid profile can be used to track or to identify different species of microorganisms. So the types and proportion of fatty acids present in cytoplasmic membrane lipids and other outer membrane lipids of bacteria are phenotypic traits, and they are often used in taxonomic analysis. So the lipid percentage and number of means types of lipids that are specific to specific bacteria. If you compare lipid profile of different bacterial species, you can find that the lipids, they are different for different species. So by using this principle, we can analyze different microbial communities or different microbial species. So the technique for identifying these fatty acids has been nicknamed as FAME, that is for fatty acid methyl ester, and it is in widespread use in it is widely used in clinical as well as public health and food and water infection laboratories. So ultimately, the FAME technique is used for identification of microbes or identification of particular bacterial species. So the fatty acid composition of bacteria varies from species to species. The main theme behind this technique is that the fatty acid composition of bacteria of their membrane, it varies from species to species, and using this basic theme we can identify bacteria. So how this species different in case of fatty acids? So in their chain length. So the fatty acid composition of bacteria varies from species to species, and that is depend upon the chain length of fatty acids and in presence or absence of double bonds, rings, branch chains or hydroxyl groups. So these are the criteria that are used for analysis of these techniques. Means the fatty acid composition of bacteria, it is varies from species to species, and this fatty acid composition is depends upon chain length of fatty acids as well as presence or absence of double bonds in that fatty acids, as well as presence of ring, as well as presence of branch chain or hydroxyl groups. So to analyze this technique or to analysis of fatty acids, they are first extracted from the cell and cell hydrolysates of culture grown under standardized condition, and they are chemically volatilized and analyzed by gas chromatography. So first thing means the first step in this analysis is fatty acids, they are extracted or hydrolyzed or from hydrolyzed cells or hydrolyzed pure cultures, and then they are volatilized, they are converted into some methyl esters by chemical process, and they are analyzed by gas chromatography. A chromatogram shows the types and amount of fatty acids from unknown bacterium is then compared with the database containing fatty acid profiles of thousands of reference bacteria grown under same conditions. So fatty acids that are extracted and converted into methyl ester, after chromatographic analysis, they are compared with database, and that database contain already characterized species of bacteria. See, this is the pictorial representation, and in this figure you can see that bacterial cultures, they are bacteria that has to be identified. This first it should be grown in fuel culture, and after grown in fuel culture, the lipids or fatty acids, they are extracted from that culture after hydrolyzing that cells, and that extracted lipids or fatty acids, they are converted into methyl esters, and that methyl ester finally they are analyzed by gas chromatography or GC, and they are compared with database, already established database of microorganisms that are based on their lipids or lipid content. So simply comparing lipid content or fatty acid content of different microorganisms, we can identify many species of bacteria. And the main limitation for this technique is that we can use this technique only for culturable microbial communities. Okay, so first thing what we have to do, we have to extract fatty acids, then we have to convert them into methyl esters, and these methyl esters, they are separated or they are analyzed by gas chromatography, and this gas chromatographic data is compared with database. Okay, and we can finally identify that which type of microbial species is there. So here in this table you can see classes of fatty acids. They are present in bacteria. It includes saturated fatty acids as well as unsaturated fatty acids. It includes omega 7 cis hexadecanoic acid, then cyclopropane fatty acids, then branch chain fatty acids, then hydroxy fatty acids. So all these fatty acids they are different for different species of microbes, and this criteria can be used to identify particular microbial species. So we can identify bacteria based on their lipid content or lipid profile, and the technique that is used to identify the bacteria based on this lipid content is known as FAME, that is fatty acid methyl ester. Again, in this second figure, this protocol is picture summarized. So first you have to cultivate the bacteria, you have to culture the bacteria, you have to grow that bacteria in pure form, then you have to hydrolyze the cell, means you have to lyse that cell, and you have to extract lipids out of that culture, and you have to prepare fatty acid methyl ester, that is known as FAMES. And that fatty acid methyl esters, they are fatty acids, they are converted into FAMES through the process of saponification or methylation, and the FAMES, they are later analyzed by GC chromatography, and the chromatogram, after the chromatography, that chromatogram developed is compared with database. Okay, so this is how we can identify microbial species or bacteria by using FAME analysis. Then next techniques, that is based on protein molecule, and the technique is known as protein profiling. And the main theme or main technique based on this theme is MALDI-TOF, that is matrix assisted laser desorption ionization time of flight mass spectroscopy of proteins, and that is known as MALDI-TOF EMS. So a relatively new technology that determines microorganisms protein profile, and it is a revolutionizing technique in microbial identification, because it is highly it can be carried out in a shorter period of time, and because of its speed, a colony can often be identified in less than 15 minutes. So you have to just put the colony of pure culture of unknown bacteria and in this MALDI-TOF machine, and that machine will tells you what type of bacteria or which species of bacteria is there. So this technique, that is MALDI-TOF EMS, it is based on protein profile of microbes. So the technology that is called as MALDI-TOF EMS, that is matrix assisted laser desorption ionization time of flight mass spectroscopy, is particularly important, and it is used in clinical labs where rapid identification is necessary to detect which type of pathogen is there. So basic theme behind this technique is that you have to culture that bacteria, unknown bacteria or bacteria that has to be identified in pure culture, and the bacterial colony is mixed, means colony, you have to take few cells out of that colony, and that cells, they are mixed with matrix, in a matrix in particular solution, and that matrix is subjected to laser exposure, and after laser exposure, that uh, microbes from molecules, especially protein molecules, they are converted into gaseous form, and that phase is known as desorption and ionization. Once that proteins they get converted into gaseous form, they can analyze by detector, and the detector is compared with the database that is based on protein profile, and you simply by comparing your result, you can find which type of microbe is there or which type of microbial species is there. So MALDI-TOF is a type of mass spectroscopy. It is kind of mass spectroscopy technique which is used to determine the chemical composition of sample by measuring the masses of various components. Here we will going to identify protein molecule, as this is technique is based on protein profile of microbes. So by using this MALDI-TOF technique, we can analyze different kinds of molecules, and basically the main theme behind this technique is that the molecules, they are converted into gaseous ions, and thus ions uh, they reach up to detector, and the conversion of ions, and there to they reach up to detector, the time interval it takes to reach up to the detector is calculated, that is known as time of flight. So once that ions they get converted into gaseous form or ionizes or means the gaseous ions, once they get converted, uh, they reach to detector, and the time for reach to detector is calculated, and that is known as time of flight. So because of small ions travel faster than larger ions, the time of flight is different for different ions. So smaller ions they will move faster as compared to larger ions, and this time of flight is actually calculated. So basically this technique is based on that fact that the protein molecules they are converted into gaseous ions, and that gaseous ions their time of flight is calculated. So by using this data we can uh, identify which type of microbes is there, or which type of bacteria is there. So this is the instrument that is showing MALDI-TOF, and in that pictorial protocol is given in this slide. You can see that pure culture of bacteria is there, and you have to pick up few cells and isolated colony, and you have to mix in a matrix with particular solution, and this sample, after this sample preparation, you have to keep this sample in a under exposure of laser beam, and once under exposure of laser beam, that molecules they are converted into gaseous ions, and that ions finally detected by mass spectra. So you can see the peaks, and these peaks they are different for different protein molecules, and that peaks are generated as per their molecular weight. Oh, okay, and the molecular weight is calculated in this technique by time of flight, means how much time that molecules after ionization it will take to reach the detector. So this is how MALDI-TOF instrument is works there. And similarly another view or another figure that shows MALDI-TOF working, and in first sample is converted into gaseous ions, and the ions they are detected by detector, and the time between gaseous conversion up to reach the detector is measured, and that is known as time of flight. The next is phylogenetic analysis. So perhaps the methods we have discussed in previous slides, they are based on uh, protein molecule as well as lipid molecule as well as DNA based method. So particularly this method phylogenetic analysis, again it is uh, DNA based method, but in this method we study evolutionary related among the microorganisms. So Carl Lewis, he was the first who realized in 1970 that the sequence of RNA molecule and their genes could be used to identify evolutionary relationship between microorganisms. So basic theme behind this technique is that by using this phylogenetic analysis technique, we can calculate evolutionary relatedness among the microorganisms. And the main molecule for this analysis is ribosomal RNA genes. Okay, so the genes that codes for ribosomal RNA that are conserved through the course of evolution, and the genes they are specific for specific bacterial communities, or the genes they are specific for specific microbes, and we recognize that ribosomal RNA genes they are the excellent candidate for phylogenetic analysis, because these ribosomal RNA genes they are universally distributed. They are present in every microorganism, or especially every bacteria. Then they are functionally constant, and they are highly conserved. This is the main theme, means they are highly conserved through the course of evolution, and they are changing very slowly, and they are of adequate length to provide deep view of evolutionary relationship, means they are of adequate length, so we can compare after sequencing these 16S rRNA genes. And most importantly, we demonstrated that the analysis of SSU RNA genes sequence could be used to reveal evolutionary relationship between all cells, providing the first effective tool for evolutionary classification of microorganisms. So basically, this technique of 16S rRNA phylogenetic analysis, it tells about the evolutionary relationship among the microorganisms, means how microbes they get evolved from one common ancestor and how they are evolutionarily related to one another. Okay, so main molecule for this technique is 16S rRNA genes, or that genes that code for ribosomal rRNA, especially 16S rRNA part. So in this figure you can able to see the structure of ribosomal RNA molecule, and the ribosomal RNA molecule is a very complex structure. It comprises almost 1542 base pair length, and this molecule is large enough to sequence and sufficient enough to sequence. And you can see the colored regions are variable regions, and these variable regions actually are the important as far as microbial taxonomy is concerned. And these variable regions, they are different for different microbes, and there are here ribosomal RNA, the primary and secondary structure of 16S ribosomal RNA from Escherichia coli is given, which is bacteria, and the 16S rRNA from Archaea is similar in secondary structure folding, but has numerous differences in primary structure sequences. So this is the bacterial ribosomal RNA, and here this ribosomal RNA is extracted from E. coli. It shows it is from E. coli, and it is 1542 base pair long RNA molecule, and it has, the molecule is composed of conserved as well as variable region. Okay, so conserved region as well as variable regions. So the colored region, they shows variable region as well as conserved regions. They are conserved, they are similar in all types of microbes, and the variable regions, they are variable among different types of microbes. So by examining these 16S rRNA molecules from different microbial species, we can identify which type of microbes are they are, and how evolutionary they are evolved, means how evolutionary they are related with each other. Okay, so basic approach for this technique is that you have to first extract ribosomal rRNA genes, means the genes that code for ribosomal RNA, and you can extract the genes from both culturable as well as unculturable microbes. You can directly take from environmental samples, or you can take from cells that are previously grown in pure cultures, and after sequencing you have to match with the already reported database, and you can identify which type of bacteria or which type of microorganism is there. So this is overall regarding 16S rRNA phylogenetic technique, and this technique can be used to compare evolutionary relationship among the microbes, means through the course of evolution how these microbes they are diverse, they get and still they are related with each other. So this is how regarding phenotype means polyphasic approach that are used in microbial taxonomy. So here this topic polyphasic approach used for taxonomic studies, it get word, and you have to study all these techniques. The techniques which are mentioned that are based on DNA, it includes which I have shown you in the first slide. So the remaining techniques, that is RFLP, TRFLP, TGG, all these techniques we will discuss in metagenomics, because they are also applied for uncultivable bacteria. So we will discuss in detail. So in polyphasic approach you have to study all these techniques, whether it should be for culturable or whether it should be for unculturable bacteria. But ultimate goal of polyphasic approach, that means you have to study all these techniques that are used in identification of both kind of these bacteria. So this is how the polyphasic approach is. So thanks, and in next lecture we'll cover next topic.